For over 13 years as a performance coach, I've studied and analyzed various different skill levels across the different genres. And the biggest issue I tend to have found is that many players have a big hurdle when it comes to dealing with their mentality. And so in this video, we're going to go over why having a good mentality is the #1 factor in how you can win more games in Valorant and in just about anything else. So let's get into it. Most of this video is going to be more of like a podcast type of format. So there isn't going to be any sort of gameplay that's on top of my voice. So please feel free to just have this in the background listening as we go over the mental pyramid, why it's important, and understanding how the mind operates to achieve the best outcomes. We're going to go over this step by step. So let's get started. So the mental evolution pyramid is something that I've come up with and utilize to help my students when it comes to coaching to understand the importance of one's own mentality and how to achieve one's desires through harnessing one's mental strengths. So firstly, we have the upper echelon mental, and this is the highest level of mental focus. That is when you're in the zone, you're playing out of one's mind, etc. This is where your mind is at its extremely disciplined level. This is where you see the most profound, successful athletes, the super athletes who are locked in, and there is literally nothing that can pull them away from what they have to do. They know what their goals are, they're focused on it, and they achieve them with very little distraction. This is extremely disciplined, and this is where I would say most players are not at, but are trying to get to. The average level mental is where most of us tend to land. And this is where more consistency is needed to achieve the highest level, that is the upper echelon level of focus. Now, the reason why the average level mental is where most of us tend to land is because we're so distracted by so many different things around us that it pulls our attention away and it divides us in so many different levels that it creates a very fragmented mentality. And that fragmented mentality is what really creates a lot of mental stress, fatigue, anxiety, and long-term defeat, mental defeat, because you're not creating a space where your mind can truly develop and harness its greatest utility, which is focus and discipline and long-term mastery. So if you're looking to get to the upper echelon level, you need to first really play out in your mind what is it that you desire, but most importantly, you have to have the discipline to maintain that. And from there, you move on to level 3. Now, I want to make this very clear that this is a top-down pyramid. We move from the top down, not the bottom up. And the reason for that, I'll get to very soon. So the next level here is the emotional level. And this is where your strongest desires tend to come into play and have an impact on your physical performance. Now, the reason why I said top down, because your emotions are what drive your actions, and your thoughts are initially the seed. So the way in which your mentality works is everything that you do starts with an idea. Everything that we use around us has stemmed from an idea. This video that you're watching on your device came from an idea. The phones, the PCs, the earpiece you're using, all of this stemmed from an idea. And from that idea, it came from the emotion, because the emotion needs to be attached to a thought. So let's say, for example, that your goal is to become a top level player, or more realistically, that you want to achieve ascendant rank in Valorant by the end of the year. You need to first have that idea in your mind, and then you need to have an emotional attachment to that idea in order for the last level, the physical level, to come into play. And that is because without a desire, there is no action. You must have a desire in order for action to take place. So you need to have, again, the mental focus and clarity, the idea, then the idea needs to convert itself into a desire, whether it's the motivation or the joy, the excitement, the thrill, and then you convert that desire into the action. And this is the last level, and it's the action phase. But your mental state must be aligned with the strong desire for the action to manifest. This is very critical because so many of us, we place too much heavy emphasis on the last part, the physical. Well, many of us are watching all of these aim training guides and crosshair placement guides and all of these guides that don't necessarily give us any sort of mental degree of clarity. It's only a physical level attribute, but where is it that we place our mental state, our emotional state? These are the things we have to really consider and drive home before we can even move on to the next phase, which is going to be the foundation. So that being said, let's just wrap this up. So the evolution pyramid, you must start from the top down. That is, you need to have a strong mental state. You need to be extremely disciplined. You need to have a set goal in your mind. And that goal must then become an emotional desire, because then that creates the action for you to take to ensure that mental idea is then manifested into reality. So when you can apply that consistently on a daily basis, you will soon see your desires met and you'll soon see your performance increase over time. So let's move on. In this segment, we're going to focus on what's known as the foundation. That is the groundwork upon which we all must build on to achieve desirable goals through mental and emotional discipline. So before we jump into that, I'd like for us to watch a quick video explaining or going over the biggest mental mistake that athletes tend to make. So let's watch it right now.
One of the biggest mistakes athletes make going into big games and coaches make is they take the wrong goals into the game. What are the wrong goals when you walk on the field? What are the wrong goals? Winning, that's the wrong goal. You know why that's the wrong goal? That's a byproduct of doing everything right. You don't have to worry about winning. The problem is if you're focusing your kids on winning, you're going to set them up to fail because you're focusing them on something that's going to get them uptight and it's going to distract them. If you're focusing them on winning, you're going to set up something inside of them where they're afraid of making mistakes, and they're going to get kind of preoccupied with that. Now, trust me, I'm not ever telling athletes you don't want to have goals. Goals are critically important. Why? Why are goals important? What's the purpose of goals? Something to work towards. Goals motivate us to train hard. See, what a lot of kids don't understand are your goals, your expectations, they're training tools. They're training tools to get you to work hard in practice. The biggest mistake a kid could make, and you as a coach as well, is to take your goals or expectations onto the field with you when it counts. Okay? Because if you walk on the field with expectations, you're creating this internal sense of urgency. I have to, I've got to, I need to, oh my God, what if I don't? And then what happens is it creates a certain headset. And the headset it creates is, well, I'm going to give you two of them. It's the opposite sides of the same coin. If I'm pressuring myself, and this is critical, or this game is critical, then number one, I'll either try too hard. I'll muscle everything, okay? And my timing will be way off. Or I'll get really tight and really tentative, and I'll start playing cautiously. So it means I get up to the plate, and I'm taking pitches, and I'm striking out a lot, okay? Goals are a training tool for practice. And if you've done your work in practice, it's there. It's already inside. It's like you've programmed the computer. What you want to do when you get to a game is gently hit the print button. You don't have to pound on the sucker. You know, it's like you don't want to be serious about this because serious shuts kids down. And my feeling is the bigger the game, the more important it is. Can you imagine what it's like for an Olympic athlete to go into the Olympics and think to themselves, I have sweated and busted my ass and bled for 4 years for this moment, so I better not mess it up. What's that going to do to you? I mean, you know, it's intuitively you know that, but it's actually a mental mistake to take the outcome and what's important into a game. It's a mental mistake. The time to think about the importance of a performance, practice. That's why you work. That's why we're working hard today. We want to win the state championship. Think about it every day. Don't bring it into games with you, though. You know, we need to win today because we need to win the state championship. That's a mistake.
Now that we have a good general idea of why we should never place our focus and attention solely on winning and why it has a negative impact down the road, let's try to achieve desirable goals through mental and emotional discipline through this foundation, starting with the 3 most integral parts of success. And that is mental clarity, mental discipline, and your mental attitude. Mental clarity is very pivotal because it's the ability to analyze and break down difficult problems into achievable solutions through consistent and practical execution. We need to be able to have the mental awareness to recognize what we're doing wrong and not go into this autopilot mode of playing, because oftentimes when that happens, you're less likely to pick up on the mistakes you're making, the habits that you have, because you're not completely focused and locked in. In order for you to really truly have long-term success, you have to have consistent and practical execution on what's going wrong in your games. This is why VOD reviewing is important, hiring a coach is important. These are really, really imperative steps that you have to take to ensure that you can transform your game very quickly. But it just requires your responsibility. You have to take accountability for what you need to do better. And the next step is the discipline. This is where we take those very same solutions and maintain an action plan or a game plan and stick to that without allowing outside sources, i.e. distractions, negative feedback, haters, to distort our goals. It is very easy nowadays, like almost too easy, for our brains to just get so distracted and pulled away, and we lose track of what really matters to us. If we're looking to truly go above and beyond for the year of 2025 or just beyond in general, you need to have the mental discipline and tell yourself that nothing can stop me from achieving the goals that I desire. No matter what the outcome is, whether I win or I lose, it doesn't matter, because it's all about the journey. It's all about the process. Once again, that video mentioned that far too many times we place all of our eggs in the basket that is to win. But that creates a lot of tension and uptightness, and eventually you get frustrated and you just play out of focus, as opposed to being present, being in the moment, and having the discipline, the game plan to play and focus on what's taking place in front of you in the moment. Because that's the only way you're going to recognize what to do next and how to achieve the next goal. So you need to have discipline to do that. And lastly is your mental attitude. And that is being self-aware of the words we say to ourselves, as they have a direct impact on our long-term performance, i.e. negative self-talk. This is a huge problem that I've come across when I've coached so many different players, where they just can't seem to convince themselves that the way in which they talk to themselves is the reason why they're in such a bad state of performance. I've told people many times that it's not always easy to get out of that mental rut, but it's not impossible. It just takes consistent effort and it takes a lot of discipline, and that could very well mean doing things like cutting off specific people who are just negative around you, cutting off maybe the music you listen to, cut off the certain YouTubers you watch, and really surround yourself with the right people who have the same mental attitude and willingness to improve as you. You need to have the right attitude to get the right results. You can't have the right attitude but then have the wrong people around you, because you're not going to get anything done. So you need to really look at the people around you and be in control of that. Take full accountability for who you talk to, why you're talking to them, and really develop a friendship and a base of people around you who are going to support you, encourage you, motivate you, and keep that mental attitude high. So that way your self-talk becomes more positive as opposed to negative self-talk and putting yourself down, which only is going to limit your growth, and it's only going to affect your results long term. So in the end, what we're looking for here is the growth strategy, right? The most integral part of becoming the best at what you do is to implement a growth strategy that works for you, not for someone else. No amount of aim training, crosshair placement, YouTube guides will ever truly help if you don't create a roadmap of the personal goals that you want to achieve over the long term. And with that, my friends, I want to thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more coaching related guides like this, sci-fi gaming. Of course, be sure to check out my live streams for more sci-fi content and much more. And as always, new warriors, stay strong, keep fighting, and may the force be with you all, always. See you in the next video. Take care.